Daf Yomi, Tractate Zevachim, page 89a. Today we start a new chapter called Kol HaTadir Mechavero. Kol HaTadir. And let's get started. Kol HaTadir Mechaveroi Koidim Es Chaveroi. The Mishnah says any offering that is more frequent than another precedes the other offering. Just a thought came to me that in halacha we have a concept of tadir v'she'eno tadir, a tadir kodem. This might be where it comes from. Just a thought. But anyway, like the korban tamid, let's say, it happens every day. It's more frequent than it precedes, let's say, a korban, any other chatas or something, or korban. Let's just say, a chatas would be, or asham or whatever, any of the other korbanos. Kol hatadir mechaver koydim mechaver tmidim koydim lemusafin. Explains it right here. Tamidin kodmin musafin musvei Shabbos kodmin lemusvei Rosh Chodesh musvei Rosh Chodesh kodmin lemusvei Rosh Hashanah. So I was giving an example of a chatas. I don't know if that's even really relevant here, because they were, I guess, describing karbanos, sacrifices that are part of the daily order or the weekly or monthly order, whatever. So it just says that the daily offerings precede the additional offerings, which are sacrificed only on certain days when Shabbat and the new moon coincide. The additional Shabbat offerings precede the additional new moon offerings. Likewise, the additional new moon offerings precede the additional new year offerings. The Mishnah cites, I don't know if I finished it, let me see here. Musvei Rosh Chodesh kodmin lemusvei Rosh Hashanah shneimar milvad ulas haboker asher le'ulas hatamid taseh es eileh. When the Shabbat and the new moons coincide, additional Shabbat offerings precede the additional new moon offerings. Likewise, the additional new moon offerings precede the additional new year offerings. The Mishnah cites the source for the principle that the frequent precedes the less frequent, as it is stated with regard to the additional offerings of the first day of Passover, besides the burnt offering of the morning, which is for daily burnt offering, you shall offer these. Numbers 28:23. The verse indicates the daily offering is sacrificed first, and then the additional offerings are sacrificed. So the example that I gave, without looking at the Mishnah, I just off the top of my head, I said the daily offering goes before the chatas. Let's say if someone brought a personal chatas, that would come after the daily. It seemed that would be the case as well, although that's not a case that the Mishnah gave. But so anyway, that's the Mishnah. And the Gemara says this: Minalan says twice. I haven't seen it before. Minalan. Kedamar Taima milvad ulasaboiker. The Gemara asks, from where do we derive the principle that the frequent precedes the frequent, the less frequent? The Gemara expresses puzzlement at this question. From where do we derive this? One must say that the reason is stated in the Mishnah. Oh, this is interesting. It's like minalan. From where we derive this, one must say that the reason is stated in the Mishnah, which says that it is derived from the verse besides the burnt offering in the morning. The Gemara explains, if that verse is the only source, it could be claimed that perhaps it is only the daily offerings that precede the additional offerings, because they are far more frequent, as they are sacrificed daily, with regard to the precedence of a relatively frequent additional offering over a relatively less frequent additional offering. The question arises, from where do we derive this? Rabbi Ilah, Demonakra, Ka'ela Ta'asu Layom Shivat Yamim. Ele Ka'ele. Rabbi Ilah said that it is derived from the fact that the verse states, with regard to the additional offerings of Passover, like these, you shall offer daily for 7 days. Numbers 28:24. This verse, which immediately follows the one cited previously, indicates that the principle that governs these additional offerings shall be like the principle governing those daily offerings and additional offerings mentioned previously, meaning the more frequent precedes the less frequent. The Gemara challenges, but that verse is required to teach its own halacha that the additional offerings of the first day of Passover recur on each day of Passover. The Gemara answers, if so, let the verse write, these you shall offer daily, since the Torah writes like these, both the halacha that these additional offerings are brought on each day of Passover and the principle concerning precedence can be derived from this verse. The Gemara rejects the suggestion. If the verse had written only, these you shall offer daily for the 7 days, I would say that these offerings mentioned in the previous verse are sacrificed in total over the 7 days. Therefore, the Torah writes, like these, to teach that they are all sacrificed each day. The Gemara counters, that interpretation is not plausible, as the phrase, you shall offer daily, it is written in the verse which indicates that these offerings are sacrificed on each of the 7 days. Ve'akati ema ela layom aval shar yomei lo yedana kama amar kra ta'asu shehu kol ha'asiyos shavos. The Gemara challenges, and still one can say, that these specific offerings are required for the first day. With regard to the other days, I do not know how many offerings are to be sacrificed. Therefore, the term like these is needed to teach this, and cannot be used for the principle that relatively frequent additional offerings precede relatively less frequent additional offerings. The Gemara answers, that interpretation is also not possible, as the verse states, you shall offer, ta'asu, indicating that all the sacrificial rites on all the days of Passover should be equal. Therefore, the term like these is in fact superfluous and can be cited as the source of the principle of precedence. Abai said the application of the principle of precedence to all frequent offerings can be derived from the verse itself cited in the Mishnah. The reason is that if so, that only the daily offering precedes less frequent offerings, let the verse say merely, beside the burnt offering of the morning, and remain silent from the rest of the verse. Why do I need the additional phrase, which is for a daily burnt offering? This serves to say that this offering is more frequent, meaning any more frequent offering should precede any less frequent offering. And now, a new Mishnah. Kol ha-mekudash b'chaveiro, kodesh chaveiro. Tam chadash kodem dam oila mipnei shehu meratze. Evrei oila kol bil'emorei ratos mipnei shehu keli leishim. Any offering that is more sacred than another precedes the other offering. The Mishnah elaborates, if there is blood of sin offering and blood of burnt offering to be presented, the blood of the sin offering precedes the blood of the burnt offering. Excuse me. If there is blood of a sin offering, blood of a burnt offering presented, the blood of a sin offering precedes the blood of a burnt offering because there's less affects acceptance, meaning atonement. For severe transgressions, punishable by karet. Likewise, if there are limbs of a burnt offering and portions of a sin offering to be burned on the altar, the burning of the limbs of the burnt offering precedes the portions of the sin offering, because the burnt offering is entirely burned in the flames of the altar, whereas only part of the sin offering is burned. Chatas kodemes la'asham mipnei shedo nitana b'karan nisanisut asham kodemes toidev al nozil mipnei shukot kedoshim toidev al nozil kodmim nishlamim mipnei she'en necholin levachal betun in. Similarly, although both affect atonement, a sin offering precedes the guilt offering due to the fact that its blood is placed on the four corners of the altar, and the remnants of its blood are poured on the base of the altar, whereas the blood of the guilt offering is sprinkled on only two corners of the altar. A guilt offering precedes a thanks offering and the Nazarite's ram due to the fact that it is an offering of the most sacred order, and the others are offerings of lesser sanctity. A thanks offering and a Nazarite's ram precede a peace offering due to the fact that they are eaten for 1 day, like offerings of the most sacred order, whereas a peace offering is eaten for 2 days. And the thanks offering and Nazarite's ram require loaves to be brought with them, 4 types with the thanks offering and 2 types with the Nazarite's ram. Hashlamim koydin b'chol mipnei shehein tu'unin matan arba. Usmichon Zevachim, Utuvas Koyde Shoik, Abachol Koyde Maisel, Shekedushos, Merechem Nech Nakwanim. Sacrifice of the peace offering precedes the sacrifice of the firstborn offering due to the fact that further going vital. We have to speed this up a bit. Second here. I forgot where I was. Lost the place, so I'll just go from Ashlamim Koyim. Yeah. Sacrifice of the peace offering. Ashlamim Koyim Bechor B'nei Shein Tunin Matan Arba Nusachim Tuvas Chazal B'Shoik Bechor Koyim Masa B'nei Shkidashim Melechem Menechal Kohanim. Sacrifice of the peace offering precedes sacrifice of the firstborn offering due to the fact that the peace offering requires placing the blood on the altar in the form of 2 placements that are 4, and placing the hands on the head of the offering, and libations and the wavings of the breast and thigh by the priest and the owner, none of which is required for the firstborn offering. The firstborn offering precedes the animal tithe offering because it is sanctified from the womb, meaning, unlike the animal tithe offering, it does not require consecration, and it is eaten by the priest, whereas everyone may partake of the animal tithe offering. Hamasik noy was b'nei Zevach v'yesh bo koydim kodesh kedoshim damo v'mo v'as koydim l'menachos b'nei shehem minei damim binchas choyte kodemes binchas idale b'nei shehu ba'al chet chatas ha'oiv kodemes lo ha'oiv v'chein hekdesha. The animal tithe offering precedes burnt offerings due to the fact that it requires slaughtering, whereas the bird's nape is pinched. And there are 2 elements of the animal tithe offering that have the status of offerings of the most sacred order. It's blood that is presented on the altar, and its portions that are burnt on the altar, whereas with regard to burnt offerings, only the blood is presented on the altar. The burnt offerings precede meal offerings due to the fact that they are types whose blood is presented, and atonement is effected by the blood. The meal offering of a sinner precedes a voluntary meal offering due to the fact that it comes to atone for a sin. For the same reason, the sacrifice of the bird sin offering precedes the sacrifice of the bird burnt offering, and likewise, with regard to its consecration, the sin offering takes precedence. That's the end of the Mishnah, and we start the Gemara on the next Amud, but for time, we need to cut it short right now, so Shabbat Shalom.